Hello, hello, greetings and merry meet. Got like incense going and I went a little overboard on burning the herbs, so my eyes are watering. So I got to be careful with that. I'm going to invite a couple people while I wait for people to show up. So tonight's topic, it's spiritual panel. And spiritual panel tonight happens to be the planet Mars. Next week I'm doing Mercury, but this week we are doing Mars. So I'm going to give it just a minute. If you are new to my channel, welcome, welcome. I am Rowan Ravenwolf. I am a high priestess and a pagan and practicing witch. Not all pagans are witches and not all witches are pagans. I happen to be both. So, welcome, welcome. I go live on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday. And this Sunday, I am doing Witchy Book Club, Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. And it's the 7 stages of power and healing. We are doing chapter 3. Yay, chapter 3. So, feel free to jump in on Sunday. Chapter 3, just for like I just want to make sure I get the right thing. Is the first chakra, tribal power. So that is Sunday. And yay, welcome, welcome. We've got Bren here. We've got Azriel. This is an open panel tonight. And as people are coming up and starting, tonight is Mars, the planet Mars. I know we've all been looking forward to this. Hey, welcome, Bren. Are you excited for Mars tonight?
Yes, I'm excited to talk about Mongol.
Oh, I can't. Oh, there we go. Yay, Mars. Azriel, are you excited for Mars tonight? I'm sure you're in your Uber. Oh, I can't hear you at all. I could hear. Oh,
okay. Yeah, I'm in my Uber. I'm in the passenger seat. So yeah, still in Chicago. So my Uber driver is John.
Well, we'll chat a lot and then bring you up when we need to. So this is open panel. So if you do want to join, if you've got like stuff about Mars and you want to join, feel free to request. But welcome tonight. Again, this is the planetary series and tonight is Mars. So we're going to go through a lot tonight. And Mars is fire. I picked Mars because Mars also is the planet associated with our astrological sign right now, Aries. And Aries is going to be over before we know it because it kind of comes and goes really fast when you think about it. It also is for Tuesday. And when we are incorporating Aries into our magical craft, we are using courage, confidence, assertiveness, strength, protection, and defense magic, but it's also attack magic. So we got like all that fun stuff in there, right? And one of my favorite plants that's associated with Mars is dragon's blood. Really strong protection with that. Bren, what is some of your favorite things about Mars and working with Mars in your spiritual path?
Mongol. That's the Vedic name for Mars. Mangala. Now, because there are other names for Mars in the Vedic tradition, and depending on which name you use regarding Mars or Mongol, causes a somewhat of a different variation of Mars to come out. Because there is Ara, Angaraka, Baruma, Chaiva, Kishchitai, Kishtinadana, Kuja, Kurunatuna, Loitika, Maja, Ratka, and Rudrin. Some of the names that I said invoke a different variation of Mars, specifically the second to the last one, I'm not going to repeat it. That one is meant to bring in the energy of Mars that is the fearless, over-the-top warrior, like seeing red. But Mars. When we talk about Mars, we think, okay, let's see, what can we tie Mars to? Well, number one, Mars, at least how I was taught, Mars of all the planets is the most violent, the most table flip. Mars is considered a tamasic, meaning it is it's a planet that has the main core energy of causing something to be destroyed, but then laying down the new foundation afterwards. So it's the slate cleaner. Mars is very obedient to the sun, the king, number one, and then as well as then the moon, the queen, to follow up next. Mars as well listens to Jupiter. Mars is not friendly with Mercury, not in the slightest. And Mars is, believe it or not, neutral with Venus. And when it comes to Saturn, Mars is neutral with that. But Mars, you can see, essentially the zodiac signs that Mars has rulership over is, of course, Aries. But it also has a secondary ruled sign of Scorpio as a co-ruler. But then it also rules the nakshatras that transit from the earth signs into the air signs. So for Gemini, it would be Mixra, that little part right there where it transitions. Then from Virgo into Libra, that would be Chitra. Then from Capricorn to Aquarius with Dhanishta. Those are the points where Mars also rules if we're going to go into more specific constellations. But Mars, if we're going to be talking about specific Jones. Meet the Jones, no. If we're going to be talking about specific types of crystals and gemstones, let me scooch this out of the way. The assigned stone for Mars, according to the Vedic text, is bamboo coral, which will be, it looks something kind of like that. If it'll be so kind just to sit still.
Yes,
a little
yes,
rep
it's got that beautiful color too.
Mm-hmm. And another secondary stone you could put for Mars would, of course, be the red jade, or more jade, as well as bloodstone, hematite, because hema is also, again, for the red fluid, as well as garnet. You could also even say some of the more darker red stones, like, I'm going to try and pronounce it, and I'm going to say it wrong, prosperite. There's that one. Red tourmaline, ruby, like ruby. And when it comes to, say, plants, well, we got to be thinking about some herbs or resins that are very hot, very aggressive. So we're thinking like, say, anise, fennel. Oh, let's see, what's another one? I would say cinnamon bark, not cassia. Cassia and cinnamon bark are like Siamese twins. Cassia is a little more sweeter and easy. Cinnamon bark is more to the face. And another thing with Mars, it also has associations with rams, animals that are very aggressive. So say like a tiger would be one. And when it comes to deities or devas or those lines, you can see, of course, Ares, the god of war in Greek mythology, of course, Mars, Roman. But as well, if we're going to go into, like, say, Kemetic, well, of course, Sekhmet would be one. You can also see, I would have to say, not really, trying to remember which one that one is, but Mars is also usually associated with Tyr, but for another one for Roman would be, what's her name? What is her name?
Are you
Starts with a B. Bellona. I think that's her name, Bellona. I think that, and she's from Roman, but the qualities of Mars is the fearless soldier, the surgeon, the one that's willing to go out and be willing to be slain in battle in order to give glory to the empire or to protect the homeland. So Mars is also very straightforward. He only listens to what the king says. If the king says to go run to the left, he runs to the left. If Moon says, why don't you run to the right? I have to listen to what the king says. But if the queen gives an order that is not in conflict with the king, then Mars will oblige to that. But, what else? Is there anything else that I can think of? I don't think I can really... Oh, Mars's colors are, of course, red. More of the blood red. And one of the remedies for if you're having, like, example, like some kind of transit where Mars is causing a bit of a disruption, if you just get a simple blood test or get a, what is that kind of a test called? It's where you get, like, you get it drawn to see, like, your levels and all that. Because when you take that out, all that energy that's being stored up and having Mars become so activated that it's causing havoc, once you take some of that out, it calms it down. And also the direction for Vastu for Mars would be the south direction, right down south. And that's the direction you would prefer to have, say, either a toilet or somewhere where it's like where you put the waste at, because that's where it gets torched. But yeah, that was my filibuster with Mars.
Well, we'll throw in Moldavite.
Oh, yes. I could say definitely Moldavite because, oh my lord. Mars, love taps you. Moldavite, love taps you.
Yep. And then also one of my favorites, Super 7. That is associated with Mars, and so is Ruby and Kyanite.
Oh yeah, I can see the Super 7 because...
Yep. Yeah, Super 7. It's a fun one to work with. I have like little pieces, so I can't really hold them up because they're so little. My problem is like every time I go in crystal stores, I'm like, oh, I need to get a Super 7, but then I find something big and I'm like, oh, now my budget says I can only spend like a little amount of money, so I get a little one. Azriel, anything fascinating that you like about Mars that you want to throw out there?
I like it. I like the mystery of it. And also it's a protector. When we're feeling down and out, and that red that you were talking about regarding the soul and so forth and so forth. It could give us the inspire to give us the strength to overcome when we need that little support. Sometimes we could delve into what we have within ourselves, which is that internal energy and positivity. But Mars, I look at it as a way to be like a big brother to me, where if I need the support, the protection, and so forth to overcome any obstacles, such as this obstacle, as my driver is taking me home, keep away anything that's negative or could become of harm. I actually can look up into Mars, for that protection. But you know what? It's a little off, but you know what? I want to share something today. When I was taking a bath before I went to work, I was thinking about this live, all right, and I was in my Epsom salt, nice bath and everything, and I had a download. And basically, we talk about Mars and the connections with the other planets, and what I had was a connection between Mars and Gaia, Earth itself. And I was thinking that, Mars being the masculine and Earth being the feminine, that Mars got to a specific age where it said, you know what, I had to procreate. So I think Mars, in a sense, danced with Gaia and actually provided the seed of who we are as the individuals. I see the confirmation, and I would love to hear, what you guys can share, with that, because this was a revelation that I had while taking this bath, and the connection of the water. I was like, wow, it all came together.
Yeah, Bren, I'll let you go. I'll let you comment.
Yes, you are correct, because in the Vedic tradition, Mars came from the sweat of, I gotta find it where it says in the notes, is known as Brahmacharya, and essentially Mars, where the heck did it say it? Is also associated with with Lord Hanumanji, and Mars was the came. I believe it was from the sweat. I can't remember exactly who, but it fell onto Tata, which is the Earth, and from that's how Mars came. And Mars is, when you're looking at it astrologically, if you're looking at the specific techniques, Mars can represent the younger brother. It can also represent you if it's the highest degree planet. Mars represents the ability to defend. It's also mechanical engineering, surgery. It is also how you can see how one's physical health and ability to defend oneself or to conquer oneself, conquer obstacles can be seen. And Mars, depending on certain ways of astrology, specifically Nandi Nadi, which is a variation of South Indian, Mars is seen for the male husband figure. And well, for Venus, it would be the wife figure. So depending on which way you're going to be reading with Nandi Nadi, usually it's Mars for a husband figure, Venus for a wife figure. Jupiter, well, is used for a husband figure for the other styles, which is Pashra. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with Mars.
There's a lot. Yes, and there's a lot of mythology surrounding Mother Gaia and the god Mars. So, yeah, that's a beautiful download, Azrael. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Yes, I can. Yes. Tonight, it's the series we're doing on the planets. So, we're talking about how we can use the planets in our spiritual practice. And of course, we're going to be touching on the astrology. We've touched on plants and crystals and correspondences. So, yes, so this is Mars. We did the sun first. Last week was the moon, and this week is Mars. Next week will be Mercury. So, very, very exciting here. So, all right, I think we're gonna like ease right into the astrological. Like, I have like notes, like a bunch of notes. There's so like, yeah, when we get into planetary magic, it's amazing. Welcome, Vinny. Oh, and just if you do have anything you want to add, this is an open panel, so I will let a couple more people up. So if you are like, I want to throw something out there, just request, and I'll let you up. So,
Also, Rowan, a new friend that I met in the comments right now. Her name is Dulce. She's from our area as well. And I invited her. Let her know that you are a local practitioner. And I don't want to put any words. Explain what you do and stuff like that, so that way they know.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, welcome. We love our Chicagoland area. Not that we don't love we love everybody else too, but it is nice when you can actually meet in person too. That makes it like fun. But I'm so glad we have the internet so we can connect with the world, because we are able to like learn so much more and grow so much from all of the knowledge that we get. So, and I see some beautiful comments. So all right, we're gonna jump in the astrological portion of Mars. So when we are working with Mars, as like it comes up in our charts. So you're gonna have your planetary is gonna fall in Mars, And when we are looking at how we fight and how we give energy. These are two strong aspects. I know there's a lot more. And I know I kind of talked about it last week, and I did just see somebody that might want to come up. There we go. Because we're going to have probably a long astrological talk about this. When we have relationships with our parents, our siblings, our children, our spouses, or our significant others, this is really important because we can't change them. So we need to know how we fight and how we give energy, but we need to know how they fight and they give energy, because we can't change them, but we can change us and how we're going to give our energy to them, and make sure that we're okay, this is how I need to work with this person. I'm the geek that I have a binder with all my family's charts, and it helps because when I'm oh, this is the situation, okay, this is why this one's doing this, I understand it a lot better. So welcome, Astro. I'll let you you want to pipe in on Mars and astrology real fast, because you haven't.
I'm sure Brian has, and well, yeah, I'll just give real quick. I'm gonna have to switch phones because I'm charging my other phone that I have my headphones on. But just real quickly, I'll tell you, Mars is a representation of the I am, right? It's a representation of the head. It's that will that we embody with confidence and creates that identity. But because Mars is the drive, right? It's how we act, is what people see on the outside, because people don't see your feelings nor your thoughts unless you speak them, right? So, but those are interior. But your Mars is very important to just understand our primitive side, that it connects to the more intellectual side, because the primitive side is the emotional side too, right? So because Mars is the energetic motion, it's where emotions lie, and right now we're having Mars in Leo, or it's still in Cancer, 27 degrees, right? My God, we've had this energy since September. This has been very stagnant, but go forward and stop. Oh, is it yellow, green, right? So during these stops, we're able to kind of pick up pieces because the ancients knew something was retrograde. And it was very important to know that when the planets went retrograde and each had a different purpose. For Mars, it was about our drive, and our interaction was under revaluation, reassessing, and reflection. And so whenever the planet went into that, we were grabbing that, because when the planets are direct, like right now, for example, Neptune is direct, but it goes back into Pisces in October, we're in the future. So the ancients knew that this was a time to see what's coming ahead. So when it goes back in time, we have an idea, and we have confidence what we need to release, because we got a glimpse of it. Right? And so it's an understanding that the retrogrades are more than just, oh my God, we're Mercury retrograde. It's time to understand how to reflect and reassess, because even the 21 days is Mercury retrograde. The mind. That's how they use it. They didn't just come up with 21 days. The ancients knew the mechanics of the universe that is tied with us, So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Bren. Yeah.
Oh, well, no. Mars in the astrological, wherever your Mars is placed, that's where your energy flows and where your energy comes from. And depending on, of course, the house, the sign, the house shows not only where the part of life, but also where on the physical body most of your energy comes from. So for me, for an example, mine is in the 6th house, which is a house where Mars likes to be in. The 6th house is your enemies. It's challenges, it's obstacles, it's facing things on a daily basis. You're putting Mars, the warrior, into conflict. He's like, ha ha! So he's ready to go swinging. But now we have another layer to add on top of it. My Mars is in Cancer. So we have Mars in the house where he loves, but he's agitated. So he's like, "Where's my rolling pin? You got my rolling pin? Get out of here. Wait, who took my baking sheet?" So he's in an environment where he's comfortable, but he's livid. So, in a way, it has its pros. For example, when there is a situation on a daily where there's an incident where, say, if somebody is not being given that proper nourishment or like given that proper care, it sets me off. Especially when it comes to, like, say, somebody who is in poverty and somebody is talking down on them. Oh, that gets me livid. That activates my Mars to go, stop it. And since the sixth house is also the intestinal tract, Mars also has an increase of metabolism because the energy is in the intestinal tract. That's where all the nutrients get pulled. So digestion and I lost it. But I just said the word and I lost it. But it's like metabolism. There it is. Metabolism rate's fast, digestion's fast, but at the same time, Mars in the sixth has to be very careful. Because if they don't know how to take a step back and not to go over the top up until you can't go anymore, they can get themselves tired out really fast. Because they're in that environment of daily stress, constant things coming at them. They can handle, but they have to know when to take a step and just, but sometimes they don't. But that's like an example of how you can weave it together to make a combination with that.
Just to add on to that, yeah, because if you think about it, the sixth house is a house of Virgo. So it falls into this house. Every universal house has this law. Even if you have a different zodiac on it that personalizes its touch, it's still that energy's house, right? So people get it mixed up. And this is why I only talk to like 4 astrologers here. Not, well, me, Brandon, my brother, and outside of here, because again, these fundamentals are so important to collaborate without having to agree to disagree. Which one do you believe in? They're both the same, but which is your preference of expression should be the question. You know, and so like and Mars also rules our blood. So whenever you're able medical astrology, whenever you see this making an aspect to Saturn, which is also one that rules your bones, and you know, like Saturn and Mars are like, oh my God, I lost my arm. Okay, not a good joke, but you know that that kind of energy. So. And so, like, it also rules accidents because it's like when you have an accident, you're not aware. Mars is awareness. You need to be awareness to embody a thought. The mind isn't all. People think it is, but the mind's the third step.
Yes, it is. Azriel, anything to add?
I want to know, like, you know, what is there a conflict of having Mars in 2 different houses, or does that ever happen?
Yeah. like, like, what do you mean in 2 houses?
Now you're saying on the 6th, which is the Virgo house. You know, let's say you know you have slight on a different house. You know, in a different aspect.
Okay, so for example, I have Mars in
Yeah.
Virgo, right? I have Mars in Virgo, but it's in the 7th house. So it's like that. It's like a Virgo living in Libra energy, 7th house. For him, it's a Cancer living in Virgo energy. To just make it simple, the outlet. Does that make sense?
Yes, like that. Yes, like that. Exactly. You know, I want to know. You know, so does it become a shift of energy, or is there a pro or an opposite of it?
That's when it becomes. I guess, and Brent can answer after. Like when you start to personalize it. Yes, of course, because is there a planet next to it? That already creates an energy of its own. Is it creating any aspects? Is it like any geometric shapes, right? You know, like 30, 60, 90 degrees, 369. If it creates any of those, you're adding on to it, right? But it is within that you think about the planets being why, the substance, the zodiac, the constellations being how. How is this why going to come about? And then the houses is where, why, how, where.
Yep.
That just wanted to know about that one.
So a couple things like Mars with being in Aries right now for our sun sign. Um, One thing I really love that I had learned was that Aries uses Mars to overcome fear with that fiery energy that Mars has. And then before, I think it was Bren, I think you brought up how it was Scorpio. Yes, it's like that's where Scorpio power, like that's where their emotional and psychic power really comes from. So that's something to think about. And actually, what's really fascinating is when you think about Mars in the sun sign, like how fascinating it is because I know so many Scorpios and Aries, and it's like, yep, yep, yep. And then when you see where they fall in their houses, yep, yep, yep. Yes, I don't know, Bren. Anything you want to add? Like, we'll just kind of go in a circle.
Yeah, like Mars has like two, like for it having the main primary number one, his Motrikona, which is where he feels the most comfortable and is his office, is Aries number one. Scorpio is the secondary. Like he's like, okay, I can co-rule that, but Aries is where I feel like I'm at my best. Just because you have a planet that's comfortable in its sign and is where it wants to be, doesn't mean you want it there, because Aries Mars, well, talk about taking initiative and going from 0 to 100 real fast and having strong impulsivity. Energy comes from impulsivity. But the different layer of Mars with Scorpio, as the Aries is like to the face, Mars and Scorpio is more like an assailant that goes. Then goes. Since it's more in the dark, more in the shadows. And Scorpio is that sign that is the dark depths of fear, like the darkest points. Mars is fearless. He's willing to go face first into it. But that's also why you can also see the same energy somewhat be similarly tied into Pluto. Because Pluto is like the higher state of Mars, though. Mars is the soldier, wants to fight, combat, and then take out the enemy. Pluto wants to cause this big uproar to completely change things. Like out of nowhere, just surprise! That's new. Just comes out of left field. And it's quite the okay. But also, that's where all the wealth's at, too. Because in order to get to the wealth, you have to use, well, TNT to get to it. And that's also Pluto, but it's also Mars at the same time.
Yep. Astro, you have some great comments. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you say
Yeah,
them.
no, to add on, right? So like because in the beginning you had the seven planets, right? There was Mars was ruler with Scorpio and Saturn, Aquarius, Capricorn, Jupiter, Pisces, Sag, right? But then evolution, right? So even when the planets begin to evolve and humanity has a conscious awareness of others, there's always a change in a collective consciousness, right? And so when we talk about the psychic, this is Pluto. Pluto is where our psyche lies in the depth of it, right? It represents the egg. It represents Earth, right? It represents Dot and Cabal. It represents that higher octave of fate. Pluto is fate. It represents death and rebirth. And it's the highest strength of the feminine because the women are the only ones that are able to survive a Pluto transformation by giving birth, by having a vessel inside themselves, a natural transformation. Men cannot. Men, Pluto is you lost an arm. It's a physical, right? It's you got some because the transformation is within the womb that it represents. And it's the power to the will of Mars. So it's where the fear lies that allows you to go and get what you want, right? It's the universal law of compensation. It's understanding the in order there need it's where we get to experiment. you know, because it also represents science, right? In order to experience, right? But anyway, to not go, yeah, the Scorpio, it's like that evolved part, right? And so they go hand in hand. That's why, you know, Scorpios are emotional, but they don't like to show it, you know? And when they do, it's not pretty, right? Because it's a part of them that's, and with my Mercury and Scorpio, my words aren't pretty, so I get it, you know, and we work with that every day. But it's knowing that that's the best part of yourself to never just put it aside. There's a reason why Aries are impatient, not because they're just impatient, because it causes people to get off their ass. They give confidence, they give assertion, ignition. It's learning how to work with that. These are just words. Patience is just a word of a temperature. Fear is just a word of a temperature. If you understand how to utilize it, you start to gain the power within the cycles of the universe within you by knowing the outside mechanics.
And we can learn so much. Like, that's why I love doing this, is we're learning so much, we're sharing so much, and I love being able to share. Azriel, anything you want to add? He either can't find the unmute button or we caught him at like the worst possible moment. And I want to tell everybody, thank you so much for the gifts for everybody on panel and myself. And let's get those hearts up. Let's see if we can get more hearts than last week. So don't forget to like the video. But let's move on a little bit more. And please feel free to add anything we want. I'm going to kind of talk about the archetypes of Mars. So Mars is a warrior. He's an aggressor. And like we talked about earlier, he's also a protector. Like, so when we're working with Mars, like, you know, like everybody I know who has Mars in their chart somewhere, that is where their protection comes from. I'd rather be protected by somebody with Mars in their chart than not. I don't want to see that aggressor side. Just saying. But yes, it's warriors in both traditions. So, and we have a lot of deities associated with Mars. We, of course, have the god Mars. His counterpart in Greek mythology is Ares. Sorry, I can't find my Egyptian one right
In
now.
Egyptian, we have, I believe, it's Heros or Horos, right? In Egyptian.
Yes, because I
And
just found it right as you said it. Because
oh, okay, yeah. And in Hindu is
yes, yes,
Mangala, right? And in Babylonian is Nergal, right? Nergal, however you pronounce that.
yes,
So yeah, that's what I mean, right? When people, hey, look, Mars connects all of these because
yeah.
people get stuck in the character. And don't get me wrong, these characters have an ancestral ties to us. So, you know, that's a beautiful part about it.
Yes, and actually, he has association with King Arthur too. Mars does, to be able to pull the sword out of the stone, and also Bran, the giant god in Celtic mythology. Am I missing anybody?
Where do you say that? Because the prefix, the prefix to my name, Bran, comes from Bran, and he's the Celtic god of the Netherworld. And
Yeah.
Raven. Oh, look at that! I guess I am connected to Mars somehow. Imagine that. And another deity that I'm kind of surprised I didn't even this one went over my head is also Pele.
Yes, yes.
Woo! But she is probably, if not the most, I would have to say the most balanced in terms of destruction and then creation at the same time. From her lava, clears the land, and then gives it that foundation for new things to grow. Woo!
What deity was this one? You said Pele?
Pele. She is Polynesian, I believe.
Yes, she is Polynesian. I will always remember that. I don't know if like you guys heard the cults. The woman was from Colorado, I think. Like love is all love something. But she tried to say that she was the reincarnated Paley when they were in Hawaii, and they basically got kicked out of Hawaii for that.
Well, I don't blame them. That's what you get.
Like, why would you do that? Like, worst place to do it. And I cannot remember, like, but it's okay. She passed away. It's a really weird story. We're not going to talk about that. But yes, she did try to say that she was reincarnated there, and yeah, you don't want to reincarnate as a deity, or at least say you did.
And when for like the let's see where does it go? For like the kind of a general character for Mars, like its behavioral is egotistical, courageous, hasty, stubborn, arrogant, aggressive, emotional. Arrgh! That's emotional. Demanding, selfish, spendthrift, quarrelsome, fool, acts without thinking, just going in Hong Kong Fooey away without thinking, falls for flattery, valorous, anger, swift, adamant, retaliating, dry, and hard-headed.
Mars sounds like a narcissist. Sorry.
No, Pluto is a narcissist, but it's pride. It's part of it, and we all have it. We all have this composition, and that's the beauty of it. Like no one's born with that of you're gonna be a serial unaliver, but there are recipes. I've done over 100 studies, and I've done a couple here on TikTok to show that on live how it's done, right? Because this is where, remember, it's not only the people that are born during Aries season that's Mars, right? We're talking about where's your Aries. If it's in the moon, everything that Brent said is interior, embodiment. If you're the sun sign, it's outside. If it's in Mercury, it's in your thoughts and communication. Oh, you see, you start to even go deep because we are not the signs. We are human meat suits that are born into the signs. And this is our composition of compounds and elements that everything has it, not just us. Because Aries also represents the warrior. It represents your sex drive. It represents so many, the head. You know, it represents many countries. It represents Iran, right? It just represents so many things that go with it. Your blood, your red blood cells. It represents your muscular system too. You know, so there's so many things that you and it rules your adrenal glands. In the chakra system too, there's a connection to the root.
And more to add on to it, which is interesting, Mars' taste, it's bitter and hot. Its season, summer. And also spring, because that's where things are taking that initiative to come to life. Now, the vehicle Mars has, this is interesting. The goat and the swan. You're probably thinking, but how is the swan its mount? Well, swans can be very aggressive. The goat will just randomly just headbutt you out of nowhere. That's Mars. It just attacks. And it's...
That's interesting you say that because Mars is exalted in Capricorn, the goat.
Mm-hmm.
And just to add on to the swans, like, you know, geese create problems and everything. If they put a male and a female swan at lakes or ponds, geese don't come around because, like, geese are aggressive, but swans, who are part of the geese family, they are extremely more aggressive, and geese are scared of them. And so when you think about like how aggressive a geese is, and you think, if geese are scared of swan,
I was actually in the houseboat in Amsterdam, and there was swans there, and you're 100% right. I'll tell the story later, but they up.
yeah. I mean, I've had a couple situations with geese, and like I'm not gonna approach a swan. Like, no. Keep going, Bren. Sorry, we had like a swan derailment there for.
And Mars has dominion over the group of people that are known as the Red Men, which are an American Native tribe. As well as Mars is associated with these animals: ants, canines, dogs, the jackal, the monkey. It's aggressive, Unpredictable. The sheep and goat, well, again, headbutt. Horned animals, like a deer, a water buffalo, a rhino, a bull, and is also, in some texts, associated with the female snake. Because with the female snake, it tends to be more protecting the home, like going around and keeping the eggs warm and safe. And usually the female, if you get too close, yeah, more aggressive. In terms of birds, it is the rooster and the vulture. Because the rooster is the Aries. Well, you have a rooster coming after you, you're in deep, oh, snap. Then you have the vulture, which is the Scorpio side of Mars. Because the vulture just sits in the background, just waits until then it comes in. Or even it lets everybody else get its share and it just waits in the background. Then it gets the last bits of it, which are mainly like the most decayed parts. That's Scorpio. And Mars's food items, you can say, would be like red chilies, red onion, garlic, red gram. Come on, go down. And it's associated with the following establishments, which is the Ordainus Depot, armories, fire pits, fiery places, kitchen, the underworld, mines, battlefields, operation theater, sports club, gyms. It is also associated with places that involve anything to do with a lot of heat. Mars regarding the face, it is the eyebrow, and it's the lip, and it's also the physical nose. The other parts of the body are, again, the blood vessels, the muscles, all red blood cells, bone marrow, the cardiac region, which would be not the heart itself, but then just everything around connecting to the heart, the man grapes, the spinal cord, the bridge of the nose, and the afflictions associated with Mars are accidents, cuts, wounds, loss of man juice, dog, being bitten by a dog, some kind of blood affliction, loss of blood, blood pressure, heart disease, constipation, anemia, bile, and thirst. And it's the south direction. Household appliances represents the sewing needle, the oven, electric stove, but mainly it would be more like a fireplace stove, the fork, the comb, because, well, when you're combing your hair, sometimes you got to be a bit, come on, you got to be a little bit pushy and a little bit with it. The iron box, a heater, a grinder. Yep, dentist. Because in order for you to go to the dentist, they have to do mechanical things, and Mars is very mechanical. He knows how to repair the vehicles, the weapons that break, the boom boom the roofs that don't go boom as they used to. He's the cleaning gunsmith. It's also the mixer, the motor and matchbox, blades, and also tongs. It is the significator for the younger brother, the husband figure, law enforcement, defense, blood relations, secret agents, assailants, Navy SEALs, that is Mars, engineers, military, sportsmen, union leader, surgeon, cultivator, and it is also the stones that are related to, again, we have red coral, garnet, prosperite, ruby, I just had it, I just lost it, red tourmaline, carnelian, along those lines. Professions. It is the engineer, butcher, surgeon, dentist, constable, carpenter, mechanic, blacksmith, sculptor, barber, potter, machine operator, fireman, soldier, police, law enforcement, military, fire services, sports, iron industry, engineering industry, mining, pottery, I think I just put pottery twice, brick, surgeon, metals and minerals, antiques, arms industry, instrument manufacturing, stone breaking, like when you open up a geode, well, gotta bring up that in there. Anything involving granite and agriculture. And another profession you can also put in there is, for an example, a real estate. Like if you're trying to buy land, that's Mars, because that's the land. Mars is the land. And when you have to go and get land, you kind of have to conquer it. And the curse of Mars is the curse of the village deity or the curse of your enemy. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed that filibuster.
There we go. And most peppers, so like the cayenne, the ghost, like any pepper really, anything spicy will be with that. Let's see, we have a comment. I should have been secret agent with my Aries sun and my Scorpio moon. Oh, yes, you should have. And I actually have Scorpio moon too and my Aries sun. No, wait. No, my ascension is Scorpio. My moon is Taurus.
Oh, that means moon will be in your seventh then.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh. And actually it always makes me laugh. My son is a Scorpio too. And then his moon is Aries and his ascension is Taurus. I mean, that, like, how weird is that, right? But
planned. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But my husband, my poor little Cancer husband, he's like, yeah, when you two don't get along, he leaves. Like, he just leaves. He's like, I'm not even dealing with this. I'm leaving. Granted, my son's not in the house anymore. He's an adult now. But yeah, when he was a teenager, it was interesting because we were either like bonded and did you pick on my mom? Did you pick on my son? But when we didn't get along, ooh, run.
Run for the hills.
So yes, and and dentists, the reason we don't like, they're on the cruel side, right? No, I'm kidding. But Astro, you want to add anything? I know we have like so much.
Well, you guys lost me at GOAT, so I've been listening in because I don't know the rest of this stuff, so I don't know.
Because when we talk about Virgo, like he was talking about like Aries, like I'm talking about Mars, right? So let's say we're talking about Virgo, that's Mercury, right? So these are representations. That's everything around you that you're made out of and more. This, like, you know what I mean? So when we talk about the goat, when we talk about dentist, this is Mars energy that we all have in our charts. And so the people that are born with the Aries season just have a higher ratio of it, but we all have it. But it's understanding where you can master something that's within your reach, that's actually effortless. That's a beauty part about it, you know? So, and so you put a lot to it, no, because like just to go to Mars alone, right? Because I went back because I've been doing, preparing for a new class. So going back to old notes and stuff that I wrote down, because so Mars represents, like, you know, prostitution. It represents also punctures. It represents quarrels. It represents also rowdiness, ringworms. It represents self-confidence. It represents soldiers. It represents spears, you know, sharp objects. It represents your sex drive, sports, athletes, you get to see where their Mars is at. And you see patterns. Actors too. Like Brent, the other day I was doing, if you want to do it sometime, I was doing it with South for a bit. We did Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, and Leonardo DiCaprio, just to make examples, right, of the similarities. And they all had Pluto in the ascendant, right? Ooh. Literally. So a lot of these, that's just one part. Oh my God, like I'll show you like later on. You see the pattern. So this facilitates for you to, you know, find that connection that everything you want is there. A part of our ego doesn't want to go there because we think we're limited. But that's a secret. You're not.
You're not. Talking about looking at famous people and their charts, El Goliath, I love his tarot deck, is one of my favorites. He actually is also an astrologer, and I love watching he's on YouTube. I love watching his YouTube videos because he has done breakdowns. He did Elon Musk. That was a good one to watch. You know, I mean, that was actually a really good one. So
because he's doing his purpose, you know that? Like Elon Musk has his vertex in Aquarius. He's here to bring innovation to mankind. And it's crazy. He's interested in astrology. And when you read into the vertex in Aquarius, which is very interesting because it's conjuncting his north node in Mars. This right here is a person that's here to bring the future and able to connect with things that are high up in the sky. Like, the Aquarius energy represents innovation. Like Uranus, its ruler is modern astrology. Mercury, it's the traditional astrology. People don't know that Mercury was part of the astrology first. They think it's Uranus. No, that's the innovation part, right? There you go, Brent. You know that. So, and I'm sure you do too, Rowan. And then to see, like, for example, like, even to go deeper into it, looking into some of my notes, right? So, for example, if you have a sun in Aries, your health reminders are going to be, headaches, brain fever, blood congestion, fainting, acne, and sometimes hysteria. If you have the moon in Aries, insomnia, headache, weak eyes, convulsions. If you have Mercury in Aries, vertigo, spasms, nervous headaches, and they're all ruled by Mars. This is why I'm bringing it up, the energy. And it's interesting, right? Because, man, just looking into some of these notes, it's connected in a way that just personalizes it, but yet connects it as a whole. And I'm glad you guys understand. And Asbro, you're gonna get it.
Yep.
It's something that is with time, you'll see.
We just want to suck you in, Azrael. We're going to get you in every, like, you're going to.
I know. I'm listening in. But there's times when I need to talk, and there's times I shouldn't talk, and these are moments I shouldn't talk. And I know it seems like I'm taking up a box, but trust me, I'm listening in, and I'm learning, as well as everybody. And there's a lot of beautiful people down there in the comments, that are chiming in. I love the in depth that both Astro, Bryn, and Rowan are given to the community. That's so beautiful.
It is. Thank you. And I see, like, and Brenda's right. Astrology is one of the oldest types of sciences. And it was actually before astronomy came out. Astrology was there first. So at least, like, in everything I've studied.
What's crazy is that they were using astronomy, though, but I get what you're saying, right? Because they were using the oldest profession. You can't mess with the planets. You can't mess with the sky. You can mess with everything you want, but man can't touch that. Because, like I was telling somebody yesterday, you can give me your chart, take away the date of birth, and I'll figure out what day you were born just with the planets.
I should have. Oh, so there is a woman who does AI art with your birth chart. And I absolutely loved mine, but I have not figured out how to share pictures yet. But yeah, so mine was like just amazing. So if anybody wants it, just message me. I'll give you her link. But yes, she'll like takes your birth chart and does this beautiful AI art that's really amazing around like all of your signs. So not just your. I mean, I am Mars ruled because I am Aries, but
and Pluto too. You're a Scorpio rising, you said?
Yes.
Yes, that's because because the one thing, because I agree with, like, I don't have a system I abide by. I abide by the astrology that connects, like John Dee and Nostradamus, the old school ones, right? Because if people read about John Dee and Nostradamus, they went against the current of astrologers back then too. So it's happened before. And so when I see that, I'm able to talk to Bren, and because he knows that the Mahabharata is also Sweta being Uranus, it's expansion, just because a lot of Vedic astrologers don't use it. But when we start to understand that Scorpio is how we're evolving, so we evolve as humans. So that's why Mars was a ruler of both, but then Pluto became as one. So we start to have a higher sense of self, right? Because you see the patterns in a psychic way more than an Aryan does. It's the power, It's beautiful.
Yes, and Brenda, that's a great comment. Yes, all kings had their own astrologers. Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
The queens.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they had their mages too. I mean, that's just it. Is that and they if you know how to tap into it and you know how to use it right, you can actually conquer anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really can. Because even my husband was making a comment because one of our kids, I should say, was kind of like freaking out, and I'm like, no, you can't approach it that way because he's like a Cancer, and like all his signs. I'm like, no, we can't approach it your way. And he goes, well, and I'm like, no, I'm like, because their sign is this, and and I was like explaining everything, and he's like, okay, we'll go with your philosophy, and it worked, and I'm like, your way wouldn't have worked. It would have created more tension. So yeah, it helps so much to know that.
Sorry, sorry, sorry. I fell down. No, I mean I was putting up because I'm setting up right now. I'm setting up right now my for my live, right, and my whole stage fell, but it's
Oh,
back
Don't
up.
ever.
Anyway, it
that's
is
okay.
fascinating.
No one's made a comment yet. I don't know if you guys hear a weird humming. Okay, because my husband is literally right above me, and he is not playing Xbox. He has fallen asleep, and he snores really loud, and I'm like, oh, at least it's like a constant, like it sounds like a hum. I'm like, if people can hear it, okay, they're gonna be like, what's going on with Rowan's background? Yeah, it's just the husband snoring.
And in the Vedic times too, yes, astrologers were primarily also consulted to know when is the most ideal time to attack and to wage the war, because there is that one constellation within Capricorn called Abjit that was specifically used whenever there was a plan for a battle to take place. They would always try to move forward with it when the moon was in Abjit. And there was a tale where I can't remember exactly which one, but there was an enemy kingdom that was going against the kingdom that Krishna was on. So what Krishna did is that he took the clouds and completely covered that nakshatra. So the astrologers, they couldn't see where moon was at. They couldn't see where it was at. But by the time that they could see it, it was already, the moon already was out of place of that nakshatra. So that's how they lost that war. But that's how you can use it to be strategic in planning. But again, you have to really know the fundamentals of it and know what's being interweaved and weaved together. Just because you have Saturn exalted in Libra doesn't mean it's time to be like, okay, I get to be just and fair. Well, look at Mars. Is Mars okay? No, he's in Cancer.
Well, hello, you're talking about John D. Remember, John D is a reason because he had the Queen Elizabeth, right? And there's a show that shows it too. I think it's a Tudors. My brother was seeing it the other day. Because when to strike. So they use, why not use something that comes from the universe we come from? It doesn't come, that's where within works at a flaw. Because it's without that gives you the confirmation, you know? So I love, yeah, the strategy and to utilize it. And again, it's within the authentic and the sincerity that you know within yourself that you receive. And this job that I've had for already 3 years, I want to keep it. And I know that I don't know if you guys have read on the Nostradamus. He has an awesome book. It talks about the moral codes, right? And there's a moral code that this job is given to me by the universe. I want to keep. So I know it keeps me, as myself too, showing the walk, right? And so it's amazing. That's why I'm still here. Because if I wouldn't have had this guidance, yeah, I probably would have got it, but I don't know if I would have made it that easy, right? Because it's a steady foundation that I build now that if I would have known it would have taken me 3 years to get, like usually I would be faster, but I see the foundation and the value now. And I'm seeing it grow right when it says that, when it's going to happen. It doesn't tell you what's going to happen. It just tells you when the energy's enhanced and you dive in it and create your chemistry with it. Because when we just want to do it whenever we want, where's the order in that?
Well, and the cool thing about Nostradamus is look at what he has done. I mean, a lot of his predictions have come true even now. The answers are
like 9/11, right?
Yep.
Do you guys know about 9/11? He said two eagles, right? Or two high. So see, the eagle represents Uranus, Scorpio, and it represents in astrology modern airplanes. 9/11, airplanes. So yes, he didn't know airplanes, but look at the symbology. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's been I remember like my first astrology book was actually I was in 8th grade and it was Linda Goodman's Love Signs. And I remember I was at the library and checked it out with the book on Nostradamus. And I was like, everybody was ready to smack me at lunch because I'm like, and Nostradamus said this, and then they're like, can we just get to the love signs? It was so funny.
And what's really also interesting and really intriguing, and I think I've said this before, in the Divine Comedy in Paradiso, the planets are referenced as each one's a heaven. The moon, the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So in a way, it's like, well, the Divine Comedy, it is that Abrahamic based, so they're acknowledging the planets. Don't be trying to say like, well, that's the devil. Well, how come you have somebody who's part of the Abrahamic faith and now calling them the specific forms of heaven?
And the Last Supper, and the Last Supper was hello. That's like a spring equinox and a fall and the summer solstice. The 12 apostles divided into quadrants, right? And each quadrant represents a season with a modality of beginning, middle, and end. And so through the Son of God, us, the Christ energy, and that Son, the 13th is us, and the 12 around us. So yeah, astrology is in the Bible. It's a big astrology book.
Yep.
You know, it really is. I mean, they were using astrology then, you know.
Yep. And I think
Even though you ask anybody, like the church I used to be in a long time ago, like they'll tell you, oh, don't do that. That's not, you know, really, because it's all over and the stuff you teach.
Yep. And in the New Testament, they have the 4 fixed signs, and for like each of the gospel, like the main gospels.
Paul, yes,
Yep,
Taurus,
Matt,
Scorpio, yep.
Yeah, the Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Leo. Because there's depictions of a lion, there's a depiction of an eagle, which is Scorpio, a depiction of a man figure, and then the depiction of the bull. So each one of those is
Is
tied
that
to
on
the
the?
gospel.
Yeah, that's also on the Wheel of Fortune tarot card.
Yep, there it is. And also the
The Wheel of
world.
Fortune.
And the world.
Mm-hmm. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Azrael was such a good student. He took tarot from me. So, see, you remember.
No, but as far as the astrology, like I had a book, and I just said, I don't, because it's like, Astro said, you got to dedicate, a lot into it, and that's your life, and all the dedication and sweat and tears and all that. It's years after years, and I don't have that much time, for stuff like that, and I rather listen in and observe, because he is a specialist here, and I do. Admire him, for that, and you too, Brand, as well. So just so you guys will know.
Yeah, and we both had a teacher and a guiding figure guide us through our time learning. And at least for me, I learned from my mentor up until his last breath, 2 years straight every day. So in this field of astrology, it's a lifelong investment. Lifelong.
Yeah, I'm not quite at your guys' level, but I'm, I mean, I've been just studying it for years, and
But you can take it in, right? When we break it down, we
Right.
feel you. And that's a lot. That's like the
Yeah.
light language of symbols, because it's again. That's why I'm glad Azrael's here, right? Because I know for a long time, we didn't really butt heads, but you know what I mean, Azrael, right? It was like that energy, right? But now
we stay clear from each other. I think our Sagittarius.
we stay clear, right? But I mean, because we know, because there's a part that I knew, right? So
Yes,
because I'm not gonna overstep, right? But people are seeing that when you're invited to go and talk, that's an opportunity. It's when do you know? So the universe is giving you the stage, right? And you were able to see as I was able to see you, because I know you have it, and I'm glad, because the other day there was a misunderstanding where. Now you see, when we talk about everything, it's not about the believing in astrology. That's just a language, a light language.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. A lot of people don't know too much of it, and that's what I meant. Like what you're doing is actually explaining it to it. A lot of people can take a misconceptions of it, and don't understand it. But the way that it's orchestrated, and you give them piece by piece, and then now you say, you know what? These are the tools. Now you have to work with them, and that's
Go
the
do it.
key.
Go.
Yes, yes, you give them the tools. You know.
I can't do it for you.
Yes,
You
and Brenda,
know?
I'm gonna just Brenda made a comment that we enhance each other, and we enhance each other because I can take anybody's birth chart and I can and like I said, like I can look at my husband's and I'm like, okay, I know how he loves because I know what his Venus is. I know how my kids love. I know what their Venus is. I can look at it like our Mars, like we're talking Mars. I know how we fight. I know how we give energy. And like we need to know like those things, and then we build, and then we find our beautiful little community. So Azrael, it's all good, like you're just getting there, and you're, you know, do you guys remember the little scrolls that you could buy in the grocery store back in the old days? I used to buy them all the time, and my
Oh my.
the little scrolls, so you'd buy your monthly scroll. They were always by the checkout stand. I'd go in the grocery
Yes.
store, walk over and buy my monthly scroll.
Almanac. And right? And so like, hey, and that's astrology too, right?
Yes, it is.
Right? When
Yeah.
to put the crops, right? You know, so you see it just goes beyond. It goes beyond because I'm able to now, like, you know, honestly be comfortable with those around me, like, you know, my main family. And I'm able to embrace within the individuality of each with moments, of course, but what taps me into not transmuting energy where it naturally will find an outlet is when you find your outlet at highest currency that's going to be received, where people recognize what you're giving, so you get recognition,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so that's a little secret. The antivirus is find your purpose of what is spirituality? Where are you better? Where do you naturally just go with the flow without having to force it up? Where does it even matter if you're the only person there that you don't know anybody? Does it connect with you? To attach everything else around it. That's what I do. Trust me, I made a little joke, Universal. He's like, "Oh man, pretty soon you're gonna be astrosized," and I laughed at that, you know, because I, right, because it's where it's. I'm just going with the vibe, you know. And if you come back to me, you'll see that I'm just giving out something that sometimes it can be a little penetrating. My Mercury in Scorpio, and this has been the lesson for my whole life because it's yes, we adjusted, but moments as humans, we could use those words as weapon. It's how because I know that's going to come back to me. And sometimes, you know, I let the emotions get the best of me. We're human, but less steps backwards, more step forwards. That Mercury in Scorpio. I already know 9 out of 10 times if I'm about to tell something to somebody, it's going to penetrate to them. They might not like me for a little bit, but if I'm authentic, sincere, they come back. You know, so
And
and that
we
helped
don't
me
know
out.
everybody's signs when we're interacting with people either.
No, we
Yeah.
don't. Like I know when my mom is a Mercury and Virgo, you know that I used to get in fights with this. With astrology, it makes sense, right?
Right.
It's like very analytical with the words, right? How you say things, right? So always be that's not how you say it. I'm like, oh, well, but you know, you know what I mean. But that doesn't get me anymore because that's her processing mind, right? And
Yeah.
so these little things, you know, we work with the other because you're understanding, okay, I'm going to engage with her. I know her pet peeve or how you communicate the words. I can choose, right? And you're that person that has control now of how you want that to come out without having to control them
Yep.
because you're working through them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing. And to see that, you know, to work with my little niece who's a Taurus moon, slamming doors is so our comfort. And when I was talking to her, the comfort, you see how I said it? Everybody else can slam door. But for a Taurus moon, when we're uncomfortable, we just slam the door. And well, now everybody's uncomfortable, but we are comfortable at that moment, right?
Yes,
But
because
and so
I do that too. Like my husband knows when like
Taurus moon, that's a
no,
Taurus moon energy,
yep,
right?
it's
Like
that
you know,
Taurus
we
moon energy.
Taurus
And I
moon.
tell him we don't want that Aries energy. Slam the door, leave me alone.
And that's all you need. So with my little niece now, when we know she's gonna slam the door once, she does it and then she releases.
Yep.
But if you interrupt that slamming or
Bam.
oh
Bam.
my God, I know because and I'm laughing at it because we worked through it, right? This
Right.
allows me to love myself and to know that these are less happenings, but that there's a reason for it. That when a Taurus moon needs to let it out, it needs to find that outlet, right? To power walk or something because it's not, you know. it can be very passive aggressive internally. You know how that works. So
Yes, yes, yes. Well, and it's funny, and I think I brought it up before because like my daughter's an Aquarius, and my granddaughter, her daughter is a Sagittarius, and I laugh because like I'll be on the phone and she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, mom," and I'm like, "She's a fire sign. Just let it go. Just let her go." And she's like, "But mom," and I'm like, "You need." Like you really need to work with with astrology. I'm like, I can give you all the tools you need, but she's so like Aquarius, and I'm like, I give up.
oh, so you know what worked for me, for example, like my sister today, right? So my mom bought a solar return for her and my dad. You know, she buys it started buying it last year. But it's crazy, right? In the beginning, right? So my brother and I are doing astrology. My mom too, not at the level I am. She'll watch it too and listen, right? But we have my dad and my sister here too, right? My brother-in-law. So different, and the kids, right? It's a pretty big house. So we live here. And then what happens is that I realize now that my mom, she bought like a little solar return from me. She wanted to support me, but I saw her reading it, but I didn't say anything, right? Because it's in that moment that they started to see I was going live and it's helping people out. Because it's like what I wanted to do to my loved ones, the only way that it worked was by going out and loving thy neighbor. And that's what I started to do here. I'm helping you like if I were to help somebody I dearly love. Because there's a universal code that it really connects to you and they see it, you know. So silence is golden. And it's helped me out because like the slamming of the door, I talked to my sister sees that now. It took time, but you know, she'll hear me talking, so she lets her now. It's about just letting them do it on their own. Or my little nephew who's an Aries. And like, you know, he'll just be here and there. And it's like, you know, the world evolves around Aries. But you start to realize, especially when they're kids, right? And now she knows too that Aries children are very confrontational, that they can take a conflict when they're young and their parent tries to tell them what to do. And let's say their parent is doing that they don't want them to do, they will confront. So my little nephews, but now it brings less conflict because she's able to understand it. I kind of got that to explain it, but it took time though. But
It
they'll
does.
see it. But they'll see it. I promise you this. This is where
It's
we're
funny
going.
because my son-in-law understands, but he's a Pisces.
My dad.
Yeah, and so he understands. And I even said to him, I said, if Bree doesn't catch on before oops, I shouldn't have said her name. I'm like, if she doesn't catch on, our little one, my granddaughter, by the time she's a teenager, you're going to have to be the mediator here. Because
Areas can just detach, right? Like
yes,
they have
yes,
a way of like, hello, your mama today was where you going?
yes.
Or
But Sagittarius is gonna, I mean, she's gonna run all over Aquarius mama. I mean, she will.
I'm a Sag, so maybe I oh yeah. I mean, it's the one thing about Sagittarius is we with the energy we can hold it in, and when we hold it in, what happens is that when you look into like a lot of actors, performers, right? They're able to perform. How you doing? You know, I'll be like, yeah, I'm doing okay, but inside I'm like, oh my God, do they not see that I'm dying? And so what happens is that through build-up time, Sagittarius is there's a blow up. Hurricane category 5, but nobody knew what was going on. They were you know, because that's such a night, and so like with my therapy, I bring this up because I want us to laugh and work with upon this to not bring so many. Let's keep it category 3, diminish it, right? Because I know I can be that. Because I'm like, I blow up. My mom didn't even know what's going on. My friends, and then I make them figure it out, and then
My baby brother is a Sagittarius.
and then we
And
can over
him and I are
exaggerate.
like this. Like everybody in the family, like everybody will fight, and him and I are the only two that won't fight. And and it's been that way our entire time. And I'm the oldest, he's the baby of the family, but like boy, my other siblings, if they picked on him, it was like just run because like I was yeah.
Sagittarius is also the sweet tooth. Every Sag has to have a little bit of that because I know I do. I know I do.
did too.
And
Yeah, actually, I saw my brother in January, and we literally ate a box of. Well, it was like from the
Sagittarius will give you that because it's like
yeah,
Jupiter, right?
Yep, we had like
Expansion.
all these sugar cookies. We were like in heaven.
And it's, you know what's so crazy that, like, man, like this is a great collaboration, because this is like, I don't do this rhythm, like I don't really jump, because for a long time we don't want to interfere, right? But now I see that this is connecting. It's like, remember I was talking about, you're gonna see what's working is obvious and what's not is not. So second time here, we're flowing, and with Bren and Azrael, and because this is what people are going to want to hear. That's why my videos, I'm starting to put them on YouTube. I've been doing it on and off, because in 3 months from now, this video is going to mean a lot. Like,
Yep.
your lives are gold right now. If you were to download your lives, it just takes time, right?
Mhm.
Work with what you've got instead of looking, where do I need to go? You got it in all these lives that we do every night almost, right? You know, and you can cut out segments and put it on YouTube, and people want to see that. And the universe pays for whatever you put out there, you
And
know?
actually,
So
I put the segments on my YouTube channel, and
nice, nice. You see, networking.
Mhm. Yep.
And I agree. That needs to be done. As a matter of fact, I got a friend down there in the comments. The one that her name is Dulce, and I actually mentioned you, Astro, because I walked in on her. Let me see if she's still here. Yeah, she's down there. Okay. Yeah, so I walked, I know her for a while now, and I walked into her, and I was looking at her, and I'm like, are you looking at your human design, or is that your astral chart? And she was actually working on the astral chart. And I'm like, you know what? I know the perfect. You have to go to TikTok. And so happened that she has a TikTok. I never knew she had a TikTok. So we follow each other, and sure enough, she's down there, and, she's, listening in, and like, I hope, she does follow you, so that way she can hear you, discuss furthermore on these things that you're doing, because I definitely believe that we all come in contact with one another for reasons. Like me, I'm really not an astrologist. I'm more like a philosopher, and I like philosophy and magic and alchemy and stuff like that. But I know that philosophy and astronomy all coexist with another. It all goes together. So we have to take a little bit of everything in order for us to get the whole picture. The
Yes.
whole picture.
Yes. And it's
A
hard.
pizza, a
It's hard
pizza.
to go ahead.
Yeah, and a pizza is not a pizza just with a crust. We need the toppings. We need everything. The collection of it.
Yeah, and it's hard when we are on a spiritual path, because it's like there's so many, like, when I started, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna learn chaos magic, and I'm gonna learn that, I'm gonna learn voodoo, and I'm gonna learn, and I've centered. I realized, oh, just because I work with my crystals, I work with my herbs, I work with the astrology, I work with the traditional witchcraft, and I'm like, I can't add more, because there is so much to learn. It's like you can't keep adding. You need so, and you get to one, and when you start feeling like, okay, I can add another one, then you add another one if you feel that way. But some people like just completely specialize with just one particular craft. But I have my astrology teacher, I've got my crystal teacher, I've got, like, but you have to learn.
Yes. Yeah, yes. And it's crazy, because in my chart, for example, I have Uranus and Mercury, both astrology symbols, in my 9,000 Scorpio, the house of teaching. And so these two together bring the old astrology and the new astrology to subconscious awareness, right? So it's like direct, because Uranus represents a higher octave of our mind. It's our spirit, and Neptune is our soul. Remember how he said Pluto and Mars? Well, we have Neptune and Venus. So Neptune is a higher octave of our heart, and Venus is our human heart. And then we have Uranus as a higher mind, and Mercury is the human mind and the spirit. So it's so beautiful, because you get to see parts of your higher self too. It just goes beyond astrology. You can just do
It does.
everything with it. And this is why it's been so put aside as something that is really limiting you. That's how people want to perceive it, when it's not.
Mm-mm.
It's not. It goes beyond your limits. Because when I found out that, I started on 2017 and 18 the astrology on my own. I went to read. I went to buy books, and then a teacher my mom and my brother went to, and then I even went to another teacher to get more understanding. Both were Rosicrucian, right? That they had the alchemical process. And so this was like about almost like one class was like 30 classes, the other one was like 49 in that 3 year span. So I invested a lot in it, but you know what though? It came back. And not only did it come back, it feels great to have no fear of the unknown, because people have fear of the unknown. Astrology doesn't tell me this is gonna happen to me, but it does tell me the conditions and what universal part of my life. And so therefore, as faith is accepted, trust me when I tell you, when situations happen, they're not as like it's not, because you're able to really control, like, your timing, and tragedies can be prevented
You know,
because
and that's right there what I, like I said, I admire, because I practice in magic. We do, we call it magic. And sometimes, allowing us to understand the energy of these celestial bodies, all the planets and so forth and so forth, give us a better understanding, because you know what, I am very in tune to what I do. Trust me, I'm very in tune with it. But it becomes chaotic. It becomes chaotic because you know what, the other elements that I might be lacking is this astrology, to understand the circumstance of the time, the celestials, everything
say that
plays a
again.
role.
Say that again, because that's what I've been trying to. I love
Yeah,
that.
so it does work, but we have to have the awareness of the timing, because the celestial have powers, and depending on where the sun is,
No,
The
he's breaking
spirit's
up.
playing with you again, Azrael. He lives right by a cemetery, and the spirits play with him a lot.
What else is funny
I
about
mean,
Azrael when I first
so they feel, yes,
oh, no, go on,
yes.
keep on talking. It's okay, it's
Oh
okay. It
no,
was
you're
just
fine. We knew it was
Yeah,
just the
I have to
spirits.
our spirits around here. So, I think, my energy, because I am talking excited, the energy is becoming more uh, radiant, and they're picking on it. They sense it. But I do believe that if you want to chime in, because I'm getting interrupted here. Exactly what I just mentioned, because I do know that plays a factor, because like that clock, the clock, when we look at that hands that go around the clock, or even those wheels in the machinery, like inside the clock, that those prongs, the celestial, and our intentions and everything that we do as an individual, it's all about timing. We can create things, but it's never going to come out perfect unless we allow it to be perfect by what? Observation is knowing by observing and getting the wisdom and knowledge.
Yes, and like you say, Azrael, and even when I'm teaching my classes, I
I
always tell
like that.
everybody, have a notebook, take notes. And it really is helpful. Like, like last night I was listening to Alien Teas, and he had Sarah on, and, we can get so much by the notes. And I hope I've even taken notes tonight, because Brandon and Astro were saying some stuff. I'm like, yeah, because I'm like, oh, yes, we need to know
Because
this.
it connects. Like, it's about, I want you to have the freedom of your belief, because for me, knowing that it's your experience from a belief, you cannot have an experience without a belief, and these are personal, but there's a beautiful belief system that connects to the planets, and all 8.23 billion humans have that personalized. It's when we get lost, when we put a segment, when instead of saying Christianity or Buddhism or whatever religion or belief, it's knowing that these symbols created these words, and through the Tower of Babel, right? The separation of tongues, right? This caused a lot of confusion, because I don't see it. I can talk to, universal theory, who's a one Kabbalist, and I'm able to connect with him just by talking about the energies. He understands it, right? Or with Saul, and with people, because it's about astrology is like the psychology. It gives you a conditioning, because the planets is where the timing comes from. Divine timing, like you were talking about, Azrael. Remember when I was saying, you think you can do anything whenever you want? And I say that because we can, but divine timing gets you there without, extra effort and tear and wear. It really does. And it's beautiful, because I feel that the universe has my back. Even on the bad days, it never lasted. That's what I love about it, that this came to me. And I'm glad I made an investment because it was hard, like, okay, so like, I'm still saving up for my car. It's getting there because I'm growing, right? But I had to sell that and
Yeah.
other things too because I needed to invest in me. I'm like, I'm going to do this. It's divine timing. Jupiter went into
It's
Aries in 2022 in the summer. This is why whatever you started around is very important to the projects of Jupiter. It goes by the Chinese calendar, 12 years, because the Chinese calendar goes by Jupiter. They all connect,
yep.
you know. That's the awesome thing too. The animals, like for example, my mom and my niece are both roosters, I believe, and the rooster is the north node. You see?
Yep. I remember the first time I was like looking at my nodes and I was in my astrology class on the nodes. I was like so scared. I was like, oh my gosh. Because I have my south node is Capricorn.
Your south node is
My
Capricorn.
south node is Capricorn. I'm
Oh,
like,
wow. Well, I mean, that's because in the past, right? So like with when
yes.
these
So
when
I
these
was like,
people,
thank God it's the past. Because like, like it starts out and they're like, okay, what are your nodes? And I'm like,
but you did your purpose, you know that just by
yes,
North Node Cancer. It's
yes,
to build a family. My brother-in-law is this. He's building. You see it, right?
you do
Is
see
it
it.
is it hard from you because your desire to be with the family, but it's when you're there when you're it's uncomfortable in the beginning, like with your child, your family. It's like, so then what happens? These people begin with this energy to take extra responsibility as not theirs when they're just supposed to be there with the family. It's
Yep.
like sit there, have ice cream, and no responsibility. You have to prove nothing. In this lifetime, South Node Capricorn, this is where because the more you try to prove, the more you're tap dancing, the more you try to achieve in success and do the work you do and just never recognize the universe is like, no, no,
No,
no.
it's
You've
not.
already did that,
And
been
the
there.
funny thing is I even said to my husband back in, so I have a lot of nieces and nephews that are kind of young. So like my youngest niece is 2 years old, and then my granddaughter's 5. But so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm always with the kids, and I'm like, when is my South Node gonna be done? And he's like, oh, you in astrology? But I am. I'm like, but it is funny because like as you start learning each of them, and you're like, and there's times I'm like, huh. And then you get deeper and you're like, aha. I,
You go deeper into it, right? Because
yep,
it's where the job's always going to come in second. Doesn't mean you can't have a job, but for the North Node Cancer, it's going to be that the family's going to be put upon you.
yep.
So that's the beauty of understanding your soul's purpose because the nodes are your soul. It's a
So,
soul's journey. It's where we reincarnate with what we do now. So it's like even in astrology you have the progressions chart and the solar arcs, and these are the transits, and these are multiple timeline quantum timelines that
and
you are.
what's
Isn't that crazy?
it is crazy. What's really fascinating, and I was very, very close with a grandmother and a great grandmother, and I'm like, we had a lot of the similarities with my nodes. So I'm like, I need to pull their charts, but I know their dates of birth. I just don't know their hours of birth, And I'm like, I should just pull it and just randomly give them like noon.
Well, but you can work with that. Look, I mean, if you ever want to get together with that, I can help you with that
Okay.
because it's really about the planets.
Yeah.
So if you're able to be good, you can, and then you can define through what we call recertification chart
Hmm.
when we are able to figure out through events when they were probably born, right? Also physical features of some that might come off, right? Like a Cancer rising would have a round face. It's a moon phase that comes out. A Taurus rising would be like very they can be short and stout, but well positioned, right? Like in their bones, right? So there's different things about it. Scorpio rising, on the other hand, like my little niece says that. The one thing I realized about Scorpio risings, right, is like they're meticulous eaters. The Scorpio, like you will never go to a restaurant and have what they want if it's not altered. And Scorpio rising, not Scorpio sun, not Scorpio moon, Scorpio rising.
Because my husband's always like, "Why is it so hard with you? Why?" Because like because I always let everybody else go first because I'm
So
always like,
funny.
I want this and this, but not this. And
You see, but isn't that, I didn't know you knew that, but isn't it crazy that these are like traits that we can have so we can, really forgive ourselves easier because that's who we are.
yep.
We can
Well,
work with it
and
now, right?
the funny thing is I'll be like, it's in my chart.
I love you saying that. Yeah, and oh man, thank you for this energy. This is like priceless right now because it's like astrology talk after hours, and just understanding that part of like what we talk about the Scorpio rising or the sun signs, but it's on. Oh, what I was getting to, Azrael. Before I forget, I think a long time ago, like I think you told me you were a Sagittarius moon. I never forget, like sun and moon of people's, right? Sagittarius moon. And one thing about Sagittarius moons that I've said for years is that their car is their safe haven. Not the sun, only Sagittarius moon. Because when a Sag moon gets in their car, they're adventuring, and even if it's their own town, like their city, right? So they'll go scouting around their city for something that is, oh my God, look what I found. It could be like this little hole in the wall that's antique and then wants to tell everybody about it because for Sagittarius moon, that's the adventure in the car. Their car is a part of their freedom, right? And so this is like,
Well,
and so there's a lot like my friend Pixie and I have other friends, and this is like
yeah.
my own independent studies, right? To share with people like it's not who you are, but look at this connection that all, and I'm telling you, I have about like 40 Sag moons, right? Have either decided to be an Uber driver or a Lyft driver or that part of that. You know what I mean? And that's beautiful because that's like a therapy. But go on,
Well,
Azrael.
that resonates. Like I said, it does resonate with me because I look at it and say, you know what? If I wasn't doing what I was doing, I might as well be a cross country truck driver or something because I don't mind. I don't mind being on the road and just observing because you know what, I can find an adventure anywhere. It really doesn't matter. I find a place wherever I go to, and I find and it resonates with me. I can make it a home to me.
Yeah.
Not saying that I want to live anywhere else than where I'm at because
No, it's just a way for you to,
but
for
yes,
me, for example, I don't like driving. I can do without driving. Like, tourist moons go either way depending on the comfort of it. Like if they have to, they have to, but it's not like let me go release, right?
Yeah.
I want my comfortable scenery.
Country driving, I'm good with. City
Country
driving.
driving, but when it's in the city or stuff like that, tourist moon can be very
Oh yeah. And when I first moved to Chicago, I was like,
10-2 tourist moon, you see.
I'm a little more. I can do it now. I don't like to, but yes, when I first moved
But
to
you see
Chicago,
how we can correlate with that?
yep,
That's fucking amazing in astrology. And we can laugh about that by understanding that. Because for you is that part where, every Sag moon they can just go find around their city. It's
yep.
how they're able to find the freedom,
you know what?
And
A fun fact: when I was 19 years old, I didn't have a car. I couldn't afford a car because and I part time as taxi driver. I was a taxi driver to make the money to pay off the taxi to use the taxi the rest of the night. And then the next day, the same scenario. I worked to rent the taxi and then use the taxi just like that. And
so think about that. That's so cool. Oh, I got chills.
See,
Of
Azrael's like
diamonds.
driving. He drives through Chicago, like,
And
I'm
I just
like,
see a beautiful Sagittarius. I know, right? I'm like, he's driving everywhere. I mean, like, I we tend to when people are driving with me. I'm like 10-2. But Azrael, that's beautiful because when I see
me
that,
too. I'm always like, but when I get really tense, I'm like,
yes, and
yeah. I
because
mean, like, my husband will be. When we were in California, I'm like, do you want to drive? And he's like, no, I'll let you. And I'm like, because we're driving through LA, we're driving through San Francisco, and I'm like, he's like, it's funny when you're in like these big cities, and I'm like, dude, I don't mind when I'm in the country, but see, it was funny when we're in the national parks. I'm in heaven. I'm like, yeah, and he's like, I'll drive now. I'm like, no, I actually like this driving.
and and you know what else? It's like because I'm able to see like, my friend, like, he's a Sag. I know it makes you feel happy because he's doing his adventure. Like that's
Yep.
healing. Like even though driving is healing for some people, but for I like to be specific because for that reason, for him, it's more about that freedom. So it heals the feeling, right? As he's able to have a better embodiment, right? This is a therapy, right? Just like for a Taurus moon, a neck massage in the back of our neck, right? Right?
Yes.
Boom.
I'll
It's
even,
the
I'll even, I'll even just be like, I'm just really tight.
it's so crazy because these touch us in our places, right? Because we like it took me a long time. My whole life, I thought I made people uncomfortable because I didn't. Taurus moon, we hear uncomfortability in the
Yes.
house. Who's uncomfortable? Like Taurus moon, right? And
Yep.
so with the dilemma, because there's a lesson, that's the beauty about it. The lesson is to know that you don't make him always uncomfortable, but you hear this, so you see it. Because the gift of a Taurus moon is to bring comfortability through the ambiance and the aesthetics, the sound, the mood, the lighting,
So is my
the light.
charming.
Everything, right? Because we see beauty. How many times have you stopped and tried to show your family something beautiful, or when you decorated something beautiful, and they don't always take it with it's like, don't you see it? It's
Yes.
like
Because my family will be like, Mom, it's a hike. You're supposed to hike the whole time. You're not supposed to go, oh, look at that
the
tree. Oh, look at the
sunset,
mom.
right? Like the
Yes.
colors, right? That magic hour that is Taurus moon energy, right? And so for me, it's understanding that, but because we would just like we can overwork ourselves because we like to put out good value in our work, especially. So we can do that too, and to make people leave comfortable. And so what happens is that when we don't learn how to balance that out, we can overwear ourselves, making them comfortable because we give very good physical security.
We do.
That's a the Taurus moon
Yeah.
needs it. Okay, we got you. And when we understand this connection, that through life, what life tests the Taurus moon? It tests the Taurus moon with material instability. Oh, because it's that moment because I want my incense. Okay, so maybe not three, but I'm having this one. So it tests you,
Yeah.
and because it has been doing that for Taurus moon since 2018. But now it's where that is changing, right? And it just feels nice to talk to another Taurus moon because you see, we're just talking without giving too
Yeah.
much,
We're just
explaining
like
about it.
going because that's what we are.
We got to do that. I want you to join that podcast. I did it with
Okay.
Heather, not with Heather, with Rachel Devine, which I was going to call her tonight to do that again, and with Robin, Taurus moon. And so we get together and just have a laugh. People want to hear this new way of, can we talk about our feelings like with a little laughter?
Yes. Yes. And I do that a lot, and it makes some people uncomfortable. But I'm like, we got to make light of the situation. So, there was a question, and Tina, I did not ignore your question. Sorry, we like see that's one thing. We're just kind of a little free here. Her question was, "What does the ascension mean?" So, the ascension is your outward persona, how people perceive you, or like that first impression. So, it's the first impression people get. Esther, do you want to add anything?
Ascension.
The ascension, yeah,
Um, the ascendant, you mean, right? Or the rising
yeah,
sign?
yeah. The
Oh, okay. Yeah,
rising
yeah,
sign.
yeah. So the rising sign, right? So astrology has nothing to do really with the planets itself, is the astronomy that connects the astrology is a zodiac. So it's like the ascendant is your human conditioning. It has not, it's not your chemistry, right? It's not your sun or the moon. These are like the king and the queen of your chart, the sun and the moon. Because when we get lost in the ascendant is where when we travel, our ascendant can change too, because we tap into the universe's connection. Your planets never change, but in the United States, I'm a Aquarius rising. In Peru, I'm a Pisces rising. So, but my planets don't change. So when we start to realize that this is a condition, your rising sign is the mask that you have control of, but the one that is not you. The sun is that you're supposed to shine the circle in the dot, and the moon is guiding it with past knowledge. Together they are union, right? But the ascendant is, and what is her ascendant? Sag rising, she said?
Let's see. You might need to pop on, Tina, and type it.
So the ascendant is so yeah, basically the ascendant marks a time, right? So let's it's never equal, but let's say right now we're in Aries season. This means that when the sun rises, let's play 6 o'clock in the morning, right? Because it could be 5:30. You know that it's like time is perfect within its not, but when the sun rises, the constellations that are rising with the sun would be Aries, because we're in the sun season Aries. 2 hours later, by 8 o'clock, Taurus. 10 o'clock, Gemini. Noon, Cancer. So there's moving cycles every ascendant every day. And the reason why in the equator it's equal, like my houses, even in Placidus, are equal. Two, 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 all like it's because in the southern hemisphere, when you're close to that, the ecliptical, you don't have intercepted houses because intercepted houses can bring some difficulty sometimes, like especially if you're way too much up north, because it can give you a big 12th house and little of less, right? This is where if you're living within the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is when it works best for you, which it would be like from Texas, Florida, all the way down, And so the ascendant is basically your mask, how you identify. It's not your identity; it's how you identify to the world. Mars is your identity connection with the sun and Mars. These are your identity. What people see. Because when I'm a Sagittarius, I know now. Yeah, I might be a little extra exaggerating because Sagittarius can have this little, role. And I'm able to, and I was able to understand, right? Because my mom called me drama, because we are Sagittarius can have that drama that's
And
really
fire sign can have the drama.
they can, but but Sagittarius, I'm exaggerated sometimes. I didn't know I was, right? Like, because Aries and Leo, there's a more of a control, but Sagittarius like has 97 moons Jupiter, so it's emotional, like a lot of emotion that's very ADD, and so it took me a long time to take that in because I was like, I'm not drama, right? But then when I started astrology, I let people tell me, my followers, the people I teach, they help me project better. I don't take it offensive because that's how we help each other out.
Yep.
Because maybe if I'm driving that car too fast and there's kids in the school zone, but I'm late to work, I don't think about the school zone, and that those people think I'm a crazy motherfucker. But does that mean I am? No, but at that moment I'm projecting that way.
Yeah.
So I see it like that, So anyway, yeah, fire signs,
We're the best.
we are the ether outward, right?
We
Oh no,
might.
our Taurus moon is the best. Oh, I love my
Yes.
Taurus moon.
Yes. And I can't remember what I think my granddaughter is a Taurus moon too, I think. I have to double
the
check.
connection, because
Yeah.
remember, whenever our feelings are not feeling great for Taurus moon, is the throat, the lower jaw, right here, and the voice, because the voice is Taurus, the communication is Gemini, but the voice. And that's why Taurus moons, whenever you're affected, that's what affects you. For your Aries, whenever you're not projecting, that's your head. Headaches, they come about, right? So that's a beautiful part. There's so many different parts of the composition. My Mercury in Scorpio, whenever my thoughts are not at its highest level, at ideal level, right? It's my genitals, Scorpio's genitals. That's why Scorpio risings too. Mothers who have kids that are Scorpio risings, let's say birth is like a life and death experience from that, especially from Scorpio rising. My little niece, I mean, she's here now, right? But it's crazy, right? How it works like
Okay,
that.
so I'm a Scorpio rising. My son
Rowan,
is a
did you
Scorpio. Mhm.
did you say you're an Aries sun and a Taurus moon?
Yes. Yeah, my birthday.
I am as well, baby doll.
Mhm.
Hey,
My
your
birthday's
twin
29th.
flame right there.
April 5th.
Wow.
Except that I'm a Leo rising, so and I just don't do well with Scorpio, so I'm gonna leave now. Just kidding. I love you. But hey, Lena.
Mine is just
But for real
rising.
though,
But no, sometimes Aries and Scorpios can get butt heads.
No, but
Um,
Scorpio women that
free
they're ascendant, right?
everyone.
Because they and I see with my little niece, because I love how I'm able to incorporate this. Scorpio women, ascendant in the sun especially, scare like there's of other women. There's like, and I see it with little girls. Like I'm able to help her out now too. It's very strong. right? And I always tell my Scorpio ladies, you remember, it's just a strength of who you are,
Yep.
and when you work with that. But you were saying something about your son and you.
Yeah. So this is really interesting. So I am a Scorpio ascension. The cord was wrapped around my neck 3 times when I was born. When my son was born, he is a Scorpio. Cord was wrapped around his neck 3 times.
I just got chills because it's like the universe. I thank you, fucking universe, because I put a lot of work and effort to give you guys these details, right? That you won't find on the internet. And there's a purpose for it, because you experience death before life with that Scorpio representation, right?
Yep. And so I just wanted to tell you.
Oh, that's crazy! Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah. Isn't that intense?
I have diamonds. I call it like right now chills because of that.
And ironically, so the doctor that delivered me, he was like first year. I was his first baby with the cord around their neck. My son was his last baby with the cord around his neck. He retired a month after my son was born.
Amazing.
And my mom was in the delivery room, and she goes, I think it took him a lot longer to get the cord off from around you. She goes, but he was so fast with your son.
Wow. It just fascinates me because all I can tell you is that the accuracy of the universe, God's source, is perfect, right? And the messenger, I'm just a channeler, a channel, an instrument of your peace, right?
Yeah.
It's all about that, right? If it's meant for you, if it's authentic, sincere, it's always going to be accurate because the astrology is never wrong. It's the astrologer that is.
Yes. Yeah.
Of Astro. Remember the last time I was in your live, you said, yeah, send me the, and I did, and you still haven't even read me. I'm not even on red. I didn't even get left on red. I didn't even get red.
Oh
I'm
my
just
God.
messing with you,
Okay,
dude.
so no, I'll take a look I get so many messages and
But
I work.
you do. Me too.
No, but I feel because I'm really trying because a lot of my time now, I've been getting on Zoom subscribers, right? Because I'm teaching courses individualistically by planet because some people want to work through depression. Okay, let's look at your moon, let's look at Saturn, let's look at how can we work this out. Some people want there's these equations like the planets create and they really do help out, and we can talk about this till we're 90. That's why I think we made a good connection. Azrael, again, baby, you're gold. You're gonna take this, and it's not because of the astrology. Wipe that away. Just think of the alchemical process as being distributed by me and others here through astrology, but it's still the same symbol light. Yep.
So
Real quick question that I get asked a lot. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
let's.
That's why I observe. I like to observe. I'll partake when I know, but I know exactly what you mean, Astro.
So I'm going to just throw out real quick and then we'll let Peace in the Meadow ask her question. Don't forget to because we got lots of likes on Tuesday. So come on, we can get to 10,000 likes. And then Azrael is going live in 7 minutes. So I'm sure Azrael, do you want to say one last thing?
Well, yeah, I wanted to drop, but you know what? I didn't want to interrupt this flow. And you know what? It's a beautiful thing that the community needs to listen to. And I encourage you guys to keep going. Like I said, I didn't want to disrupt it, but then I said, I don't want to be rude and just drop. I'm in between a rock and a hard place. But because the chemistry between you guys right now is so beautiful and so genuine that I definitely do believe that those that are in tune and listening to this should, be able to enjoy it without me distracting it. But I am going live, and you guys can find me on later on. If you're following me, you'll be able to find me. I'll be around. I'll be around for 4 hours or so. So
I'll message you to help you figure out how to do it on YouTube. So
okay, sounds good. It sounds perfect, and I appreciate everybody here. Much love and gratitude, and don't stop because I'm about to drop. Please keep it going until you guys say, you know what, I think that's enough.
All right, will do.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you, brother.
Alrighty, I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.
All right, Peace. The floor is yours, girl.
Right on. I'm actually going to follow him because I'm on for him and stuff. But just my question to Astro is, because I know that you studied numerology a long time ago, right? So how does because I get asked this a lot because I study both as well. How does the numerology and the astrology correlate, just with the top 3, right? and I'm not trying to be like egotistical by saying this, but
No,
like
they do
use me
because
as an example.
okay, so mine is, for example, I'm a life path 3 and I'm a destiny number 7. So my life path 3 would mean that there needs to be some kind of communication that comes out through one of my main purposes and through the ninth house, that is this house of Sagittarius with my date of birth. The representation of these symbols create numbers, right? 1 is Mars, 2 is the moon, 3 is Jupiter, and so on. Because our life path is that number. So when we read the definition of a number 3, for example, I'm a number 3.
I'm a
When you read that
22-4.
definition, it puts a lot of macro little things of astrology together of your chart because it puts it, it puts it together, right? So, and
Right?
then you have the destiny, which is your north and south node, your past. You see?
Mine's a 7 as well, by the way.
Well, because me and you have the same north and south node. Like, there's an example right there, right? North node
Do we?
Virgo. Yes, north node Virgo, south node Pisces. So
Oh
this
yeah,
is
you're
why
right.
sometimes I get a little, and how I remember, I don't know. Like, I guess it's meant for me. That's the only way I know that it's going to stick with me because I really want to help the universe. And when you're ready to do what you want, you don't have to write it down. I will always remember you're a north node Virgo. It doesn't take up space. It just stays there naturally. Because it's like when I interact with you, I know what I can work with because it's a beautiful thing. Without having to use words, you can hire the vibration of the room and really work through the person. I know that Aries, one thing with Aries, like number one, you can't just tell an Aries like to stand down, stay
You can't
back.
tell an Aries
Right.
shit.
No, but that's one of the biggest pet peeves, right? Like to stand down, like surrender. What? Like just surrender. And so with my little nephew, this has helped me out a lot to understand how to work with that. Because as we all don't like surrendering, some of us this is an enhanced reaction because surrendering is a temperature and our body reacts to it. We call it surrendering, so we can define it, right? The definition of this energy movement, right? So that's how it
Right.
is, Meadow, right? So don't get lost in the number, the definitions. Understand the numbers have a symbolic meaning that comes from a planet. That's a
Well, I
beautiful
do,
part about it.
but I actually like of even regardless of my astrology or my human design or any of that. My favorite is numerology. I think probably because it was my first love, but I never understood how the hell am I a foundation or a master builder? I have nothing. And then I was like, oh shit, now I understand
Well,
because
because
that's what I'm doing here is building a family.
a master builder is one who's built and show it, or it's a master destroyer.
Well, in my case,
The 11 is the intuitive or the narcissist and spiritual
ooh,
narcissist. Well, because
you want to hear,
there's a polarity, right?
you want to hear something
There's,
funny?
yeah.
I have 7 11s and 11 sevens in my fucking chart.
Well, think about that because it's powerful,
Yeah.
but it comes with the
And
other
80%
degree, right?
Pisces.
Oh, God bless you. But
Yeah, no, I was like, all right, fine, I'm a psychic. Fuck off, y'all. Quit kicking my ass, Excuse my French. I'm sorry, Rowan, my
no,
bad.
no, no.
Uh,
These are the times to
fine.
understand. These
My
are the
day
times to
job
understand.
makes me swear a lot.
yes, ma'am. I do have to bolt though, because I know Azrael's about to go on, and I like being in there first. It's like a goal of mine. I don't know why, but
No, that's. I mean, and you just remember that this is about where we
it's
can find
Aries.
a
We're just gonna be
connection,
first.
common ground. Agree to disagree. That's not connecting because that was a part of it. Well, you can agree. Beliefs are personal. I would never have you believe what I believe. Like that doesn't work. That's absurd,
Right? Who would
right?
want to be just like
Well,
everybody else? That sounds
but the
absurd.
thing is no. But the thing is that you can't. Beliefs are personal, like tampons. You can't. You cannot believe something somebody
Hang
else.
on, Rowan. Would you like my tampon after I'm done with it?
Oh my God! Well, that's what's going on right now in the communities, right? But
Dude, I
anyway,
know, and I'm trying to fix that, but I
no,
can't.
don't
I don't.
fix.
I can't.
All you gotta know is that beliefs are personal, but there's a belief system that allows us to experience. And see, again, before the experience, we gotta experiment. This is science. I'm not telling you that what science is telling us is everything they have, because there's a lot of independent studies that have not been published in their Bible journal, scientific journal, because of few men. But don't discount because you're supposed to connect now. That's what I'm talking about. The connection is huge at this moment.
I
right? Most
actually refer
go
to
on.
myself as a mad scientist, and my saying is research, analyze, experiment, repeat until results. My first poetry and songbook is called Results Not Typical. My second one, the one I'm working on now, is the Ascension of Authenticity.
Well, because science is about disproving it until you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And so
And I'm big
for
on
me,
experiments.
astrology, I was no, I wanted to disprove it. I thought it, like honestly, my friend was talking to me about astrology since I was 20 and until I was like 36, 16 years later. It finally came to me. I thought she was crazy. So all those downloads too that are information of the past that I was not ready yet to receive,
Mm-hmm.
those downloads come when you're ready and sometimes years
Mm-hmm.
later. That's why you don't
Mm-hmm.
just get them out of the air. They don't come like that. Because we could get
I
confused. People can enter like this is like understand this one thing before. I'm sorry I interrupted you on that.
No, you're good. I
Was
was just gonna say I gotta go, but I'm gonna wait and listen to what
no,
you
I
got to
got
say
it
real
because I
quick.
gotta go too, but we got we're stuck here because I was supposed to go at 11 o'clock with my subscribers, which are texting me, but I told them I'm on here right now. It is what it is. They
Yeah.
can take it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
and no, just to understand that it's there's no separation. It's like know the ingredients to bake a cake, and you can make a million type of styles of it.
Yeah,
Because that way
and
you
I
can connect.
and I tell people all the time, dude. I don't want you to be like me. I don't want you to parrot me. I don't want to be like you either, and I don't want to parrot you. What I want you to do is be authentic, whatever that is, and I'm gonna love you for that. Even
I
if
might
it
not like
pisses me
you.
off,
Remember
I'm
that
gonna
though.
love you.
But remember
Huh?
that because my authentic self pisses people off, and I
I mean,
know
I
that.
piss
But
people off too, but that's why I love you.
I
so
do too. It's
I
part of being fire sign.
I love you too, girl. Like I do because I know sometimes because I know because like it's like through family, my Libra mom, like keep it like and I don't get offended anymore. I know that's and we were able to work, so she understands a little too. But we meet halfway without having to say much. That's a beautiful part of
That's awesome.
astrology because she does it through her astrology that she listens to in Spanish, and I do it too where what I do and it's just right now this is so relieving because where we're going is the age of connection. We're taking everything from
Yes.
Pisces, which is spirituality, and connecting it with the age of Aquarius, which is a scientific method. It's going to
Yep.
be where science
Yes.
and God meet, right? Conscious
Which is
conciencia.
the which is
That's why
totally the
we're
expression
still
seven
keep
too. That's
going.
half analytical mad scientist, half freaking psychic and mystic. I love it.
Well, that's good, and you guys get, but notice, just be aware how people right now are going to extremes. There's the ones who just believe in science and everything mainstream and all that because they're in that. That's fine, but then we have the other side that has gone to the other extreme, where sometimes I don't feel Rowan. Thank you for allowing me to speak up, and because with a lot of other rooms and these people are my friends, and it's not their fault. I've realized this. We're gonna be triggered when there's just I don't feel like I can speak freely, but it's not because they told me. I just am starting to see that I'm interacting with some of the things that before I was able to vibe with. This is Neptune and Aries right now. It's bringing that awareness to connect with those that are not part of your normal circle, but you just feel like I
Hmm.
connect with them right now. That's enough because then you won't ruin relationships because these are over
Yeah.
because that will happen. I've learned to burn less bridges from in a couple of years because I know the condition. It's like this is a time for you to detach gracefully to see who you connect better with so you don't create that fire because it's not meant to connect at the moment with that person.
Oh man, burning bridges is fun though.
Yeah, and when
Taking the
you
wind
need
out of my
milk,
sails.
you're alone, right?
I'm just fucking around. I've been alone my whole life. I'm finally in my peoples now. But I love you
This
guys. I gotta take off. I'm gonna drop.
we have to grow spiritually. But one thing I want to throw out there, it's important to be our authentic self. But we were talking about belief briefly. Be your own spiritual guru.
I am.
Be your own spiritual guru.
No, be your own spiritual,
Yes.
but it's important because you've had one, Azrael, me, Bren, my brother, others, instructor or application because see it's the alchemical process because if you're doing it on your own I'm not saying you can know but see there's a process of understanding through application of transformation takes two and that right there is when you're a badass and you master the Karate Kid needed Mr. Miyagi to get him where he's at like that right and but he was his own guru Karate Kid
Yep.
but it's having that, because I also see that, oh, you don't need anybody. Nobody's your teacher. I know what you're saying. That's not what you're saying,
Right. It's just
but
be your own spiritual
yeah,
guru. But yes, you do need your teachers and your mentors, but don't fall into the trap that
thank you.
you
See,
can't be authentic without having a spiritual guru, because you're authentic as your own spiritual guru.
Yep.
I
And that's a
agree,
message
but
that should pass.
I also know this about me. I'm an audiodactyl, and I've done things on my own my whole life. This is the first time in my life that I'm doing things with people. So I did teach myself all these things, and I studied all the different stuff without having to do it, without having a guru. Now I feel like all of y'all aren't gurus. Y'all are my family, so we're all learning from each
Well,
other, and it's beautiful.
but let's look.
But it's
Let's
the
lower
teaching.
that a little bit because but before you go, you wanted to know about astrology numerology. You needed me to
No,
connect. Wait, hold on a second. You
no.
needed me,
What I wanted to know was your opinion on what I was going with
but
your.
you
I
did.
wanted to know your opinion on the Aries, Taurus, Leo, and then the 22, 4, 7, and 9. That's
Okay,
where
okay,
I never
but
got to
see,
finish
but
the
then,
question.
but the thing is that you can't know some of these things on your own.
I
It's
do
the
know it on my
alchemical.
own. I wanted your opinion.
But do you remember
Yeah, because I like
spiritual
collecting
egos at an
perspectives.
all-time high?
I like collecting perspectives, Astro.
Okay, okay.
And we learn from collecting perspectives. It does help to have a teacher, and a teacher can be a book. A teacher can be a physical teacher. I mean, I teach classes, but I'm also taking classes. I'm also reading books, because my husband's like, you do a lot of spiritual stuff. And I'm like, I found my jam.
I took an extra course and I'm
Right?
teaching classes too. Like you said that, right? Because I'm taking advanced Pluto classes and then I break it down because it's about making it your own.
Yes.
But understanding the foundation, that's because there's a lot of what they call imposter
Shit.
syndrome where it's
It's
just
6 minutes after,
memorize
guys.
and regurgite, right? I mean, like, I
Yeah,
love
I
what you're
love y'all.
saying.
Gotta go.
Okay, bye. Okay, bye.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
There we go. Okay, so let's finish this off. I love this. Thank you for having me on
Oh, yeah.
again. All right, so
Well,
it's
I'll be here
about
next week with Mercury.
with Mercury, right? And then we can talk a little bit, and I'll see if my brother South can join us too, so you can get another. He's like my brother, and I didn't know he knew astrology until like recently, but we can talk about that, and also Mercury, and we can connect it with Uranus too. How to connect the higher mind and the lower mind because there's techniques. Rowan, you're a Taurus moon. You know that it's about when you're secure, your emotions, all you need to have is a space with good lighting, right? The lighting works in what you hear the light. And that's it where and that's how deep your senses go inside of you. Remember that because I always like meeting a fellow Taurus moon because I'm able to just express less with expressing more. That's crazy, right? Think about that.
No, less is more. Actually, my favorite teacher that I had my junior year in high school, he taught us. It was creative writing class. I also had him for English, but he taught less is more, and that stuck with me for. I mean, we won't even talk about how many years.
Because people complicate it. Like and within astrology, you see like with all those stuff that I did, because I try to disprove it. I got all Scorpio rising. Why I was able to tell you that, and I see my studies. I'm like, okay, wow. Like, and then I connect with it. This is inevitable because you read it in books and you find things that connect with it. But when you are able to experience it on situations and people, this is what makes it yours. Even though it's been done before, you're putting it out your way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're right about the guru and all that. But I am blessed to have had two teachers that I wasn't falling down rabbit holes that were unnecessary.
Yes. And I mean, it's important for us to have a teacher, but it doesn't mean that they rule our life.
No, they
Yeah.
don't rule that. That's what we're changing. All right, so I'm gonna go. But listen,
All right.
Neptune and Aries, we're getting there. This is a spiritual warrior, the activist that's standing up for his ideals and the identification. So it's identifying within your own self, the soul and spirit. It's where we find it. It's being defined. So we need to find that definition within our own self to connect to the whole. This is where we break from the hive that we all connected together. We're gonna fight. It's the individualistic approach, Aries and energy.
Yeah.
So if you're having headaches, it's because you're putting too much, and you're not putting what's Neptune? Where we're creative. Neptune is where we have creativity. It's where our intuition is the highest, and it's where the Christ energy lies in all of us. So, all right,
All right. Thank you, Astro. We'll see you
bye
next
bye.
week. So, and I love that, Kimberly. That's beautiful. I love Alice didn't fall down the rabbit hole. She opened doors. That is so true. Because when we look at it, at her knowledge and wisdom that she gained and finding her authentic self, yes. And that was beautifully said. So I'm going to just repeat it. Alice didn't fall down the rabbit hole. She opened doors. Thank you, Kimberly. So I'm gonna wrap up our conversation. We went really big into the astrology, which is so important, but I want to also like give the magical aspect too, which we kind of touched on a little bit. But when we call on Mars energy in our magic, so if you're doing witchcraft and paganism, like in your magic and your rituals, your spells, it is an active energy. And I know I've ran into people who are like, oh, never use Mars. We need it because it's active. We also like it teaches us how to fight, but how we give energy. And that's also so important for us to know and understand. So when we want to do something quietly and gently, we would not use Mars. But when we want to like just boom, we want to be seen, we want to be in the spotlight, we're going to use Mars. So it's when we want a bold change, when we want to increase passion, when we want to overcome an obstacle. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I'm going to climb Mount Everest, we're going to use Mars energy. We want to use that energy because that's like so important. It's increasing our physical movement. It's exercise. It is the epitome of fire energy. So it's very, very exciting. So we want to use Mars energy when we are creating and building and removing obstacles and destroying obstacles. So I know it's like a lot, but we can use this beautiful energy with Mars and it helps us so much. So I hope you guys all have gotten something beautiful from tonight's discussion on Mars. Next week, we are doing Mercury as this series on the planets. And then I'm live Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. So Tuesdays, Tuesday Tarot. Thursday's always a spiritual panel, and Sunday is Witchy Book Club. This book that we're doing a chapter a week. It's Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. So this Sunday we're doing chapter 3. So please feel free to jump in. Even if you haven't read the book, please feel free to jump in because we had an amazing conversation last week. And I do post the lives on my YouTube and my Patreon. So my Patreon link is actually in my bio. So if you're not following me, follow and subscribe. Have some fun. Thank you so much for the hearts. Love it. And thank you everybody who donated gifts to the panel tonight and to myself. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad everybody is here. And so as always, I'm going to end tonight. Merry meet, merry part, bright blessings, and namaste.